We spend roughly 50K on celebrities. Sweet spot for title sponsors, 10 grand. Our goal is to squeeze out every last penny, giving me the ability to be creative and come, because I've got that creative side. That's where I get life. Then we get a kickback off of what they sell. What makes it successful is that feeling that you get when you're there.
Hello and welcome to episode 1 of Let's Get Tactical. My name is Joe, the COO, and the whole idea of this show is different interesting people from all walks of life, generally business owners, and we're going to see how deep we can go instead of how wide we can go. I know that might be quite scary and intimidating, but therefore I made sure I invited a very friendly guest to be my first ever guest on this show. And we were just discussing how normally it is flipped and he is doing the introduction and I am the guest. But in this circumstance, it gives me great pleasure to introduce my first guest. Terry is the co-owner of Nashville Fit and Music City Fit Expo and a dear friend of mine. Terry, hello, mate.
Joe, thanks for having me on, man. This is exciting.
Does mile deep scare you versus mile wide? I think I said just deep versus wide. It probably wasn't my greatest intro, but does that scare you?
I like going deep. Like, typically people have got to pull me back from going deep. So
Yeah. And by deep, I'm not talking tears here or anything, right? We're talking about business here. Everybody knows my position, if you follow me, is within operations and supporting founders for 10 plus years. And Terry is one of those founders or co-owner. And Terry, correct me, did you co-found these companies or was there an acquisition at one point?
there was acquisition of both things.
Okay, awesome.
Primary owner of Nashville Fit, but I have some amazing partners, and then found and acquired Music City Fit Expo, and then brought Roy in on it, my business partner on that end.
Tell me about the businesses and tell me about what you do.
Yeah, sure thing. I'll start with Music City Fit Expo. It's the most cut and dry, right? So it's the largest fitness expo in the South. We take over 120,000 square feet, not square skeet, in Nashville at the fairgrounds. We do that beginning of every summer for 2 days, and we throw the biggest, most fun fitness party that you can attend. We got fitness competitions from all ranges, from sumo to strongman to natural bodybuilding. We bring in celebrities from bodybuilding, from strongman, really all across the genres there. And then we have vendors, typically have upwards of 150 vendors, and we see roughly 8 to 10,000 people come through and visit the show. So it's a good time. It's a lot of work. We spend about 8 months a year working on it. So we love it.
And what's your
We're still
role?
kind of on that riding that buzz right now. So,
And what's your role within that expo?
I do a lot of things. So, my business partner, Roy, does the majority of the administrative work throughout the year. I do a lot of sales for it. He and I team up on planning some of the activations, celebrities, and how we want that to look. He knocks the layout out of the park, and I am the day of guy. So anything you can think of with like making sure the trucks are in and on time, the stage is set up, putting out fires all day long, that type of stuff. So
And when you say sales, are you referencing sponsors or are you referencing tables or are you referencing tickets sold? Like, what are you talking about there when you talk about sales?
literally all of those things. So we
Oh,
have
oh wow.
yeah, we have vendors, we have, which are their table sponsors, right? The people that bring in the tables, um, companies from all over the country. And then there are sponsors, people that will put their name on something and, but don't show up. And then there's the whole ticket side of things as well. So, building out, what we want that to look like, and the deliverables, and the
Like,
communication.
help me understand that from the operational side then. Is that like 3 separate strategic approaches or is that you generally do the same things and it covers all 3? Like, how does that's a big role.
It is a big role, but there's, I mean, both things are true, right? So systematically, there's like three things that are true for every part of that sales, right? You want to find the right customization to make that individual happy, whether it's an attendee, right? What do they want? What makes the experience top notch for them? Is it a swag bag? Is it a program? Is it food? Is it the celebrities? Whatever. So making sure their experience is top notch. It's the same thing we do for the vendors for the tables. Like we want our deliverables to be similar. Like we want them to get the most amount of traffic. We want them to have a seamless setup and tear down. And then we want them to leave with a feeling of ROI. Um, so, those that transcends to sponsors as well, and even to the celebrities. We want to take care of our celebrities. We want to white glove approach to them. We want to get them to their spot, get them back out of their spot with security and escorts, and we want to make sure that uh, they're fed, they're hydrated, they've got a great hotel room, their flights, all the things. So it really comes down to how you'd want to be treated is how we want to treat these individuals. How you want to attend an event, right? What you'd want from a fitness expo is what we want to accomplish for the attendees that come out as well.
And you said that expo, is that one time a year, you said? One time a year? And so where does the Nashville fit work into things there? How does that work under your umbrella?
Yeah. So a little bit of context there for for understanding, right? For the listeners or viewers. Nashville Fit came to town first, and it was 2015. Individual brought it here from Austin, ran it for a couple years, and then introduced the Fit Expo. So it was running under one umbrella. It grew. The two things kind of grew simultaneously. COVID happened. Old owner bailed out. Just you lose distribution, um, and you're selling month to month advertising. Business dries up really quick. So he got burnt out and decided to lay it all down. They actually sold the magazine, and then he didn't want to do the expo anymore. I'm friends with the old owner. Like I was involved in the early parts of the magazine. So, checking in on him, found out about this. He told me who owned the magazine, and he said, "You can take the expo. Um, I will help you with it." And then we had a vision for what we wanted to do. And I knew there was one dude that could help me pull it off. And I went straight to Roy. We did that. We planned that expo and uh, executed it. And then with the proceeds, we bought the Nashville Fit magazine, and then we had to build that thing from the ground up as well. So, and that's what we did. The systems, the logos, the email list, the advertising, reissuing the magazine. It'd been dormant for about 2 years. So,
So do you treat them, you said that they kind of came up separately.
mhm.
Would you say they're more in unison now, or are you running and helping develop two separate companies that complement each other?
They're two separate companies that complement each other. I would The expo is a bit dependent on the magazine, but I don't think my business partner Roy knows that because we do a lot of groundwork. We're talking
Yeah.
about it a lot, and he has his own business, and then he manages the expo
Right.
in part with me. So a
Yep.
little out of sight, out of mind as far as what we do here day to day, and I just know better. Um, Keeping the expo front of mind. Uh, is good for the fitness industry here locally in the community. Um, Whether they're tied together ball and chain or they're just complementing each other.
So what's your core goal right now? Is it to increase number of people at such an event and number of magazine advertisers, I guess? Or is
Mhm.
it to expand the amount of events that you're going to do? Like what's the goals for the two companies right now?
So expanding events, no, we don't want. We actually experimented that in the very beginning. We thought, okay, well, we could be a marketing company that has a strong event appearance. We realized that those two things are very difficult to put together. That makes executing with excellence very difficult. So we dropped the event side of things and moved more into, hey, we're a media company that happens to offer awesome advertising opportunities, business coaching, consulting, an ecosystem, if you will, of connection to big community groups in Nashville. The Expo, on the other hand, we're at the stage of the Expo where we are just about outgrowing the fairgrounds. So our goal is to, and you know, this is behind the scenes stuff. Our goal is to squeeze out every last penny out of every square foot,
Yep, of
um,
course.
to help us make that next step to the, to a bigger venue, which will be the Music City Center.
Well, that's interesting. Is that a common procedure for the event industry to do, is work out
Mhm.
revenue per square foot?
Well, yeah, it's you think about it as we're just landlords. So we're leasing 10 by 10 spaces, 10 by 20 spaces, 30 by 30 spaces. And then for the big events, those are about, I want to say they're about 2,000 square feet. So there's 6 of those stages. So each one of those sections has a dollar amount assigned to them. And then you got to play with the faders year to year to figure out where where uh the sweet spot is, right? And you can only do that with intel from once a year. So it's like you can't really change it on the fly. You don't know if it's really going to work or not work until you're in it and trying to sell it.
So how so ha do you change things regularly year on year?
Mhm.
And have you got the ability to increase that number from, like, obviously where you started to where you've done today, you've increased that square footage, revenue per square foot number?
Yes. Yeah, we finally got to the sweet spot. I think the only thing we're trying to dial in now is our gold sponsorships, which are the stage sponsors. But for instance, we started out at like $250 for a booth when we first started, and the ticket was, I want to say, $15 a person, right? And then we hadn't figured out the stage sides yet, but we had title sponsor, presenting sponsor, and silver sponsor, which is basically just a double booth. We had all that stuff situated. And then when it went really well, we're like, okay, we got to incrementally bring the price up. So now the booth cost is $650. Uh, and then the ticket now is $25, $75 VIP. And that's just a peak in there are other expenses that we've raised and then had to bring back down. Like we went title sponsor 15 grand one year and realized, okay, we didn't sell that. We're gonna have to scale that back down. Sweet spot for title sponsors, 10 grand. We know we can get it.
So you mentioned a couple of times their sweet spot, and you've mentioned there the sponsor side of things. What if you could quickly put and summarize the recipe for the sweet spot that you've got to this point and figured out? What is that? Sponsors being a key part of that, right? What else goes into that recipe?
Yeah, it really comes down to the ROI, right? The you learning, I guess the biggest part for us is learning what lifetime value of the clients of the vendors is, if that makes any sense.
Interesting.
So
Oh, interesting.
if if you're a personal trainer, and you're trying to set up a booth, like what is the average lifetime value of your client? How long do they stay, signed up with you? How much do you charge? Right. So for instance, we had a personal trainer there. It's pretty brand new. He closed 2 clients. Combined lifetime value of those 2 clients for 1 year for him is $3,400. So that justifies the $650 booth, right? So it's cost per acquisition, right? Like what does it cost to get that customer? And having an understanding of that across the board, whether it's a juice company, apparel company, personal training, equipment, whatever, um, helps us dial in the prices a little bit better.
And that's
So,
where
and
you
if you
probably
think about,
developed your tiers, right? I heard you referencing
yeah,
some tiers, and that's kind of how you then reverse engineered to the tiers.
that's exactly right. A little bit trickier because events. So if you think of your one massive event hosting 6 smaller events inside your one event, it messes with your brain a little bit, right? So, um, finding that spot for them, like if they're selling tickets to their event that includes a ticket to your event, uh, but also brings in more shoppers, right? There's some real
Yeah.
value there. So you don't necessarily want to charge them to the nines. We know now that that stage sponsor, 5 grand is too high, right? $3,500 is probably spot on. And that's the adjustment we're making this year for those stages so that those will actually have, you can name that stage. And oftentimes we'll make a deal with the event that's being put on there and be like, you bring us, $3,500 in booths, you can have the spot for free.
Yeah. And is it a multi-day event?
2 days. Yeah.
2 days, 2 days.
Probably be going to three sooner than later.
And what would that be? Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Hmm.
Talk to me a little bit about the mix of the event itself. What's going on there? Who are some of the vendors that are going to be there? What does that mix look like for this event?
Yeah. So the biggest, when you kind of know that you have arrived as a fitness expo is when you have large equipment companies coming, because there's freight involved. There's planning, truck schedules, and truck routing, because these guys are going to from typically one event to the next. So if they built you into to their equipment tour, these expos, you're doing pretty good. So this year that was a big deal for us. We had the fitness equipment brand, pretty big sponsor. Had they brought a big old box truck and set up probably 8 pieces of equipment in a 30 by 30 spot. And what was awesome is as soon as people came in, they went straight to the workout equipment and they were trying to get their pump on, right? And they were using the equipment, which is a cool
Mm,
visual for attendees coming in.
coming in.
It's a great feeling for the guys running that booth, right? So that's what you want to see. So you have that. That's a big deal. So equipment is a big deal. Tons. This year was the year of the clothing line, so there was lots of clothing lines, athletic clothing, um, which is normal. And then supplement companies. Those are the three heavy hitters. You get into recovery centers like an Optimize You or a Game Day Men's Health. Those are typically pretty big. But we also like to season it with things like, so this year we had a tattoo studio. They had set up in a 30-foot booth and they were rocking the entire time. I mean, you see a lot of fit guys with tattoos. I'm a good example of that. Um, and then then we had a barber. Like we had a barber there set up. So it's wild when you think about it. Those like, and they all crushed it. Like they crushed it. So um, if it's fringe, if it's on the fringe, it likely will fit. We don't really want the gutter guards, the leaf filler, the Anderson windows, but we don't turn them away either. We just like, hey, we understand. You all got to get to big events. This fits your metric, but good luck. You better make it
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to go in a moment into the more of the details of the event itself and
Yeah.
what you believe makes a successful makeup. But before we do, just to kind of ask a couple more questions on the business side, are you able to break down any way? And it's okay if you can't. Are you able to break down any way what some of those sponsorship packages look like and what that product is?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll start with the biggest one, right? Our title sponsorship. Um, the name kind of precedes itself, right? Like if it's a title sponsor, which means your name is now above the expo. So this year we worked with No Days Off Water.
Yeah.
They were our title sponsor. So this is the No Days Off Music City Fit Expo, presented by who was my presenting? Optimal Health Systems was our presenting. I can't really remember that on the fly. Um, So your title sponsor, they pay 10K. They get naming rights. So that means their name is everywhere our name is. So anytime we're announcing another vendor, wherever our logo shows up, their name is at the top and then the presenter is at the bottom. So they're getting access. I think our analytics this year, we were 202 impressions or 2.2 million impressions on Instagram alone, for just the event. They get on the billboards. Our billboards are getting 1 million impressions. They get on magazines and print. They get in all. So we do a ton of social media marketing.
Yeah.
So their name is all over that social media marketing. So that's one of the bigger perks. We added some things in as well. So they also get a 30 by 30 spot. We also made them the official water of the venue, which we had to jump through some hoops to make happen. Um,
Why
we
was that the
put
case?
them. Well, most event centers have a concession contract with an outside concession management company, and they usually put a hard stop on when you want to sell. Um, for instance, water. So if you've got a deal with Dasani, or Pepsi or Coke, you're right, and they've got a bottled water, um, they typically will tell you you can't sell, you can only sample,
Wow.
because they don't want to mess with their numbers. So we were able to go to the top of the food chain with the leadership
Yeah.
and see if we can swap out their water for no days off water. And they said yes, and it worked. So
Brilliant.
that helped us a ton, because then we get a kickback off of what they sell, because they
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able to sell it and make that profit without the connection.
Yep.
So it all
Very
kind of
clever.
works hand in hand there. So then another perk for the title sponsors, they get to appear on radio with us for a radio interview. I did a business spotlight YouTube interview, put them, blast them on our social media. We put their ad in our magazine, right? So they're getting tons and tons of visibility for that money. And then
And
they get prime
side
location when
note,
they get there.
Terry, side note, you're a busy boy on the old radio stations and podcasts, but side note, haven't you were doing
Yes,
something earlier today?
I was. Yeah. Every Thursday morning, 9 to 10.
What were you doing? Quickly tell us what you were doing.
Yeah, it was. We have a radio spot on the local sports radio station. It's the Health and Fitness Hour, from 9 to 10 a.m. on Thursday mornings, and we've become pretty good friends. I am starting to collect newscasters as buddies. So I brought on one of the former News Channel 2 anchors, Neil Orn, and he joined John Burton, who's also Channel 5 anchor and the radio show host. And we just laughed for an hour. I don't know that we shared any content. It was a blast. And me and my business partner for the magazine were basically flies on the wall. We just,
Yeah, yeah.
because you can't get a word in with the two anchors going back
Two
and
bankers.
forth.
That's so cool. So that's so
Trade,
cool. That's so
it
cool.
was fun.
Okay, we'll bring you back to the sponsorship packages. And by the way, if anyone doesn't follow Terry, I'll make sure the handles are dropped. You should. Back to the sponsors. So that's obviously the title, and then we have three underneath.
Yeah, then you go presenting is the next biggest one. Similar deliverables, but they get about 70% of what the title sponsor gets. So they're not getting extra. They're not getting social media, as much social media. They're not getting the magazine ad. They're not showing up on radio, but they're getting their logo still on all of the Expo
No
advertisements.
limitations to their own self promotion for the event you've put on, though, and that they'll be
Yeah,
speaking at,
absolutely
right?
not.
No.
Yeah. That one comes in at about $7,500
Okay.
for that sponsorship. And then we get into VIP sponsor, which means that your name is on the VIP lanyards. And the VIPs are basically, if you've ever been to an amusement park, it's a fast pass for the celebrities. The celebrities we have that come, three of them have anywhere from a 5 to a 6 hour line that show up to get autographs and pictures. So the lanyard will have the QR code or logo on it, for that VIP sponsor, and there may be some extra signage or a floor sticker.
And are you having to pay an appearance fee for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We spend roughly 50K on celebrities.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
it's a large part of the budget.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's almost more than the whole building. Or it's about the same. We're typically, our costs, this is really behind the scenes, behind the curtain. Our cost is typically right around 100K
Yeah. Yeah.
before the event ever starts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're on the
Incredible.
line for that. When you think about it that way, it feels very, very risky.
Yeah. Does
But we've
that go
proven,
under COGS or does that go under expenses?
yes.
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 I'll have the accountant on another show. All right.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's why I'm really thankful for Roy in that, because he lets it consume him on some
Yeah.
level, and we do have to pull him back.
Yeah.
because it turns into you turn into anxiety, which doesn't
Sure.
communicate well when you're trying to
Sure.
sell.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, there's the VIP one. The VIP one, that sponsorship's 5K. We have athlete sponsor, that's 5K. That puts the name on the athlete lanyard.
Mhm.
Athletes we let get in for free typically. Um, that's a part of the perk for the events
Yeah.
who are paying to have the space.
Yeah.
Um, but we do still have to track them, so they still have to come
Yeah.
by and
Yeah.
get on the athlete list so we have numbers and
The sales side makes a lot more sense to me now. Talk to me a little
mhm.
bit about that sales process then, because you obviously have these options. You do an annual event. You obviously got a lot of a focus on marketing and trying to make sure that there's people coming, and obviously in all sorts of other ways. Um, Talk to me a little bit about um, the sales side. Like, are you direct contacting companies? This is all relationship based, and you're just picking up on other referrals. Like, how did you land No Days Off?
This is This is actually pretty diverse. I'm a relationship type of salesperson. So I'm fostering relationships, trying to build community. If I can plug them in to advertising opportunities, great. If I can't, how can I support them, right? Without being a detriment to the business or super big expense. How can we support, right? Because our mission at the magazine is to make Middle Tennessee a healthier place. So I'm building relationships and very involved in the community on that level. So that along with my team, so my business partner with the magazine also teams up to help us sell for the expo and execute the expo, as does my wife. um, we approach sales differently, and then I have Roy and his sales team, which they approach sales differently as well. Roy's a little bit more traditional in the sense of sales, right? Not necessarily fully transactional. He's very much into the idea of building the relationships.
Yeah, yeah,
But if he doesn't, like, it's email 5 days, email 5 days, email 5 days, like until you hit 8 touches. And if you got to hop on the phone and make a phone call,
yeah.
um,
Roy's my man. Roy's my man.
yeah, there's systematic process to how he approached sales, and it's very, very similar to how most sales operations work, right?
Yeah,
He selling cars at 17 years old, went into sales,
makes
was in the
sense.
mortgage industry for a while. Now he runs his own
Makes a
clothing
lot of
line,
sense. Yep.
and that works for him. Um, I foster relationships, so
Yeah,
it's a little bit different. I'll still do the emails and the follow up process pretty similarly, but you're gonna get funnier or a little bit more relational type of emails from
yeah,
me.
yeah,
Something along the lines of, "Hey guys, want to make sure that you're in or out. I don't want to keep bugging you, so make
yeah,
both of our lives easier and just let me know."
yeah, yeah,
Type of stuff, right?
yeah.
I'm also the type of guy, if you don't answer an email, I will show up at your place of business and I will say, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'll be just jolly as can be. And they're going to be
Yeah.
that you typically cower like, "Oh, I meant to respond to that email." Well, I'm here now, so you can respond to you
So
can respond in
a
person.
bearded, tattooed, muscular man shows up outside your office and asks to speak to you. Yep, I
Yeah.
can see
Well,
it work.
oftentimes we're just in the same places, right? Because we're an authority in the space, so there are events going on across town, and we're either like we do a lot of reporting, like we cover events, so you're going to see us, and
Yeah.
you're gonna feel a certain way about not responding to an email. So that's not on me.
Terry, I want to go into the event itself. Obviously, it's a massive component, and then obviously I want to have a little bit of time for the magazine. But the event itself, we've talked about some of the business side, and I can see how some of the sales are generated now. But how how do you describe what makes a successful event? You've obviously built over the years. You talked about the approaching the economic side of it by looking at the revenue per square foot. But
Hmm.
what makes a successful expo for you?
Man, successful. I mean, aside from not losing your shirt, you definitely want to know your numbers and analyze your risk uh, strategically, right? So what makes it successful is that feeling that you get when you're there, right? Where which is very hard to describe. We try to describe it in all the promo videos and things that we do, but if you do it right, the event is electric. There's a buzz, there's an excitement. There's guys dabbing up each other, there's girls like shopping, there's like everybody's leaving with a smile. They're thanking you on the way out the door as opposed to you thanking them. Um, they're lining up at the door before you even open it. We had a line on Saturday morning of about 50 people before we opened the doors. And then that line, it was just constant until 11 o'clock. Um, that's exciting. A
Yep.
successful event for the vendors is when the event's not even over and you're a quarter of the way sold for the following year.
Wow.
Um, this year we last year we had 150 vendors. We've already sold 50 vendor spots.
Really?
And we're not even 3 weeks out from the last
Is
event.
that with
And
like an
that
exclusive renewal offer type deal?
It's lock in your price because the prices
Yeah.
fluctuate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's simple ask 15% to lock in your price. It is a deposit. You do lose it if you don't come. So there 50 companies have said yes.
Brilliant.
And I've even had somebody say, "Hey, we want that title spot." So I had to go back to no days off and say, "You're in or out for next year." Because I got someone who's waiting to write a check. Um, so right. And that's typically when you know your prices have got to go up.
Yeah, it's a tremendous problem to have, right? And you can't like somebody might say, "We'll have more than one title sponsor," but you really can't with these types of things. Somebody wants the complete limelight, don't they?
It's
In the sense of,
difficult.
yeah,
It's
it-
difficult. You don't want them fighting, right?
no,
Like,
my brain goes immediately to the companies that buy the rights on the buildings, right? Like
mhm,
a lot of the towers in downtown Nashville, for example, the names on them, they might have one floor in that entire building,
right.
but they bought the naming rights to the building, so it's UBS on the top of the tower, or it's Regions Bank on
Mhm.
the top of the tower. So it's the Regions Tower, it's the UBS Tower, right? And so that doesn't work with another name on the tower as well.
It does
Right?
not.
You're paying for that title, and that's what
Mhm.
the big package is for. So, but congratulations on achieving that. So that electric feel. If I were to kind of like have a guess, by the sounds of what you've created, is obviously a very it's niche in the sense of that it's the fitness
Mhm.
area, right? So you've obviously attracted people that are interested in that area naturally, but then it sounds like once you get there, there's different experiences and different levels of things from, as you mentioned, apparel, supplements, probably working out equipment. It sounds like
Yep.
some things are actually like physical in nature, which obviously is would, sounds makes sense for the fitness industry.
Right.
So is that mix and that dynamic vendor mix something that leads to the electric nature?
Yeah, it's that. It's definitely that. You've got to bring and this is easier to do now than it's ever been, but you got to bring vendors that will also bring the energy.
Really
Um,
interesting.
and not all of them get that, but we do our best to try to talk about it as much as possible. Matter of fact, we started a podcast that's bent on helping businesses. It's called Ground Up, and we get on there and we've spent a lot of time teaching them how to have a successful expo, teaching them how to create a customer journey, teaching them how to put together an amazing offer, and it's all there right on the podcast, and just to kind of help with that. But the mix definitely helps. The entertainment side of it helps a lot. Like people come to spectate the events, like they want to see the guy, lift the car, the strongman, or they want to see the sumo wrestlers go after it. Uh, or they're there to watch their friend or family member on the bodybuilding stage. Um, it does really pull in, and we love that part because every athlete brings 2 to 3 family members or fans. Uh, and they may not have any desire for fitness until they get in that building. They realize, oh, there's so many different modalities, right? This industry is way more diverse than I thought. And then that's the beauty right there. Now we're converted somebody on to their health journey. They've started now because they've gotten into this space that is very welcoming, very inviting, and everybody is trying to help them. Um, it makes it desirable. It's not as intimidating as it is from the outside.
real valuable lesson, I think, in that, Terry, that anybody can take away from this, especially if you're a company that has any type of community-based side to your audience. Like, what you said there has really resonated with me because we know what it's like to have a bad client, a bad
Sure.
attitude on the back end. It's not just difficult to work with them, but it affects everybody else there and how they feel a session, a group session when. And that's just from like a coaching angle, right? Then from any other angle where there's that type of community interaction, it only takes one bad seed to all of a sudden spread an awful disease.
Mhm.
And by targeting the right vendors there, you have added and created that electric environment so that when electric personalities come into it, sparks happen. And I think that is recognizing that as a pivotal point of what is success, I just think is really insightful.
Well, thank you. It's been
Yeah.
fun. That part's
Congratulations,
fun.
good sir. Well done. Vendors are everything. The people that are attending are everything. Talk to me about your day of management. Are you electric or are you running around like your hair's been fried by electric?
Depends on the hour.
Okay. We start okay, and then as the day will goes on?
Yeah, it's the joke between Roy and I is that, we're getting there on the Wednesday, uh, right? The event starts on Friday at 8 a.m. Vendors are to be there and set up. They have from 8 or from noon to 6 on Thursday to be set up. That gives us approximately 4 hours, maybe 5, for setup day because they charge you for any additional day you need
Yeah, of
that's your bottom
course.
line.
Of course.
Um, so we have to have a print ready. The measurements have to be right for the expo hall to set up tables, chairs, pipe and drape, how you want it. I will tell you that it has never been how I want it, ever. We always go in on that Wednesday while they're setting it
Really?
up and we run a tape measure, we run a measuring wheel, we make adjustments, we do what we need to do there. But that's the day where I'm looking at Roy and I'm like, whew, okay, man, here we go. He's like, what are you nervous about? Why are you anxious? The hard part's over. And I'm like, bro, the hard part's only begun for me.
Yeah, yeah,
Because your feet hit the floor in the morning
yeah.
of Wednesday. They don't really stop until that Sunday. And it's a lot of miles that you're walking. Um, this year we had a little setup issue with the expo hall. They were not ready when they said they were going to be ready, and I took the bull by the horns and my team with Vanessa, my wife, my son, my dad, Roy. We set up pipe and drape for about 80% of the vendors.
Wow. Wow.
And we weren't going to risk the fact that it was
Yeah.
going to, in air quotes, right, be done by the time we got there in the morning. Because if it's not, right, then we've got an issue. We gotta play catch up because I got a stage coming at 8. I got trucks coming at
Yeah.
10.
That's it.
Um,
Yeah,
if it
event
is,
logistics compound. The issues
right,
compound with
they
event
do compound.
logistics, right? The
They snowball.
smallest thing right now, if left, will be the biggest thorn in your side. They really do, don't they?
They do, and it matters. Like we still have to check the measurements, right? So like, I'm not risking it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna make sure we're set off the wall. We narrowed our aisles a little bit. We did all of that stuff. It was actually kind of nice to have the controls as exhausting as it was,
Yeah,
but that
yeah,
made setup day pretty smooth. So Thursday
yeah,
ran pretty well. As I'm there and I'm showing people where they're setting up. Maybe they need a table, maybe they don't. They dump their table in the aisle. Then, I've got a radio, one of my helpers to, let's get the table, let's get the chairs out of here. We're hanging banners, we're putting floor stickers down. Um, we're getting registration at the front set up and ready to rock and roll with signage, trying to make everything super clear. Event starts, you're greeting everybody at the door. You're telling them what this line does, what that line does, what that line does. You're talking to your staff. You're trying to make sure doors are secure. We don't have anybody sneaking in any side doors. Um, and then we're always thinking about trash being empty, paper towels and toilet paper being in the bathrooms. We pay for janitorial services, but we don't sit back and like let problems happen. We typically will report that hey, we're out of toilet paper. And then I will go figure out how to solve it. While they're also trying to get their act together to solve it. So I typically beat them to the punch.
Yeah.
Um, medical, right? We're trying to make sure there's no injuries. If there are injuries, are we communicating about it? Uh, this year we had a breaker that kept tripping on somebody's booth. Had to figure that out in the back end. No
Yeah.
one knows this stuff's going on, right? So
No.
it's getting done. Parking lot, you're making sure, like, there's years we've had parking issues. We could be out in the parking lot dealing with stuff. There's years we had a sprinkler go off and just hammer the food trucks.
Worst people that they can have.
Yeah, it's like you got to figure that out. Like
How
we call
would
it sprinkler
you,
gate.
you might not, I don't know if you've got any staff in earshot or not, but how are you on the day? How would you describe your, like, I've been around you on some event days before for
Mhm.
other situations. I know, but like, how do you perceive yourself on event day? Are you someone who keeps it together quite well? Are you neutral throughout the day, or are you easily frustrated?
I'm not easily frustrated, but I'm heightened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which means I'm not as personable as I'd like to be or that I
Sure.
normally am. I'm typically looking through people and looking for problems.
Yep.
I had people, friends of mine, that were this close to my face, like within 10 inches of my face, or from like, oh, hey, like I was looking at the wristband, trying to
Yep.
make sure they're supposed to be
Yep.
there.
Yep.
So yeah, you're in a different gear.
Sure.
And there's only little pockets where you can sit and be present in it,
Of course.
if things are going well.
Well, you've just had one, so I'm sure everything is now gearing up towards the prep and everything needed for next year, right? When are you aiming for next year?
Next year will be more Memorial Day weekend.
Okay.
We don't really start talking about the expo again until July.
Okay.
So we'll talk about it a little bit, but the fact that so this year, the biggest change is we brought on a sales guy. Um, and that has really helped. So it's taken a lot of pressure off of the rest of us. So having, like I told you, having 50 booths sold already, um, gives us a little bit of like, okay, we can actually focus on
Breathing room. Yeah.
there's breathing room. So we can get into how we
Yep.
present. Like, what's the front door look like?
Yep.
How we want to change up the layup? Like, how
Yep.
can we make it a little extra awesome, right? As
Yep.
opposed to thinking about like that very last minute once we feel good about
Yeah.
the sales.
Yeah. Terry, I want to spend just the last 10 or 15 minutes on the magazine, if
Sure.
that's okay,
Yeah.
because I see more now how they can complement each other, especially when you talk about sponsorships and
Mhm.
your people who buy your sponsorship packages are looking for reach ultimately, right?
Right. Right.
Reach, eyeballs, footsteps, whatever.
Awareness. Right.
Yeah. And so I can see how the magazine plays in a role. Like you mentioned they were separate, but do you do co-promotion for the event in the magazine and vice
Mhm.
versa? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's honestly, even if I wasn't part owner of the expo, it'd be dumb of me to ignore it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's just such a large engine for, attention on the fitness industry. And if you're an authority in the fitness media space, you best be at minimum covering it.
Yeah.
Um,
So talk to me a little bit about the contents of the magazine. What's the kind of focus? What do you guys kind of have in there?
yeah. So, like I mentioned in the beginning, we bought the magazine and we flipped it. So the goal was to create it, make it more diverse. We had some trial and error and understanding that, being a marketing firm and doing heavy events probably wasn't the route we wanted to go. So we redirected. When I brought Vanessa came into our business, actually bought Roy almost all the way out because he was part owner as well. Um, she helped us systematically improve the deliverables, simplify the products, and then has really helped streamline our process, right? Which if you think about what's crazy is when I got the magazine, I was doing social media, I was designing the magazine, I was doing the interviews, I was doing the sales, and then the last thing was process. How do you have time? And it's weird to look at it now. And Vanessa's full time. My wife
Yeah.
works full time.
Yeah.
Jen, my social media director, works full time. I have an editor who handles all of the writing, right? Like there's now 5 or 6 people doing what I was doing to get this thing started. And I was like, man, how did I not kill myself this first
Crazy,
2
right?
years? Yeah.
In,
Now
in,
it
in-
has grown, so it's a bigger beast than it was then. Um, but yeah, it's the magazine itself is an element. So we say that we have pillars, right? So the magazine is print and digital. It's every other month. It's typically diverse, and we have an editorial calendar, right? So we just did the combination issue we called it the Music City Fit Expo edition. Had the celebrities on the cover, but the stories were still very much Nashville. We had, you know, typically there's some kind of workout in there. There's a recipe in there, and then there's a business feature. Um, there's the latest industry news,
Yep.
and then some fun stuff, right? Then we get into um we're just thematic, right? So the next issue is
Is
gonna
it
be
a
transformation issue
monthly magazine?
every other month. Yeah.
Every other month?
We have our best of, which is the sign behind me, right? Um, which is where you can vote for your favorite trainer, chiropractor, whatever. That's a pretty big issue that comes out every year.
That's cool.
So that's that element, right? So outside of that, we have a podcast network where we have 4 podcasts on our network. I've expanded that collaboration to other networks. So if you want to advertise with us, and you're like, I really want to press into the podcast, we can spread awareness of your brand over about 50 different podcasts regionally. And then we have a radio partner, so we could put it on the radio as well.
Yeah.
Um, so there's the podcast element. We actually help develop podcasts. We're currently producing 2 other ones. We actually
Oh,
helped launch one for my good buddy Will Hardy. We did his whole personal brand and launched his podcast. Um, so we do a lot of that stuff. Then you get into our website. There are blogs going on our website sometimes twice a day. There's a directory on there. It's a heavy traffic, and we monetize the website through banner ads as well as
yeah.
paid article
Yep.
promotion.
Yep.
Um, so that's how that works. And then I think that might be it. So we get into consulting and coaching too.
Yep.
I live in that space. Actually really love it. So we do that
It
as
it
well.
when you do something like your Expo and then you do
Mhm.
something like the magazine, which is obviously a piece of media, like you can't not in my head fall into becoming a media company slightly as well, because
Exactly.
you have to market it. You're providing an audience as your end product to your sponsors anyway.
Hmm.
Reach is important. And obviously, I think you and me both understand the headaches we sometimes face with various agencies or various marketing experts who specialize in one such area of
Right.
marketing.
Right.
And so I think you naturally, and the shift you've naturally fallen into is like, yeah, well, we have to become the media company. Of course, we have to be able to record the podcasts here and then edit
Right.
them here as well. And it's
Yeah.
funny how these consulting is obviously that natural thing that you fall into then as well, is because, well, there's not many people doing this. So people want to know how to do this.
Right. I think consulting, like that part is so natural because the more you talk to people and you're trying to, plug them into advertising, or you're out there interviewing them for a spot and you're asking them how business is going and they're telling you that hey, it's tough here.
Yep.
It's hard to keep people, or, we've got a great Instagram following, but it doesn't convert. Like you naturally start hearing the pain points and you're like, oh, there's ways to fix this. Right. Um, so because you want to help, right? You want to help people. So design a product, listen to your clientele and
Yep.
adjust. Yeah, and then leaning into the media company is, I have to give credit to where credit's due on that. That's been Vanessa.
Really.
Understanding what we're not,
Yep.
right? Giving me the ability to be creative and come, because I've got that creative side. That's where I get life. I'm like, okay, well, if it's not that, being a marketing agency, then it's a media company. If it's a media company, how do we be so unique in that it's scalable,
Yep.
right? So you can't scale just a paper magazine, but you can scale a media company if you connect it in the right way,
Sure.
and you've got the right mission, right? So we've worked pretty hard on that, and we like where we're at now.
We're entering Q3. Where's Terry's focus in Q3?
We're focusing Q3 as uh, this is the time of year where you do your 6-month business checkup, right? So you look back at your goals you set, um, you look at the numbers, and you're like, okay, are we to the goal, past the goal, almost to the goal, and how do we adjust so that we're where we want to be year end. We're doing that at the same time. We are building a philanthropy arm. We do a lot of philanthropic events that are just what we want to do, right? If our mission is to make Middle Tennessee a healthier place, that's not, that should not be, financial status specific.
Very
Like we
cool.
want to help wherever we can help, but those needs are different, right?
Yeah.
Fitness has long been a luxury item. Love it or hate it, it's been over marketed. It makes it feel like you can only purchase health, right? When
Yeah.
the reality
Yeah.
of the matter is that you can be educated into it too, and be, if you've got some wherewithal, you can actually be pretty successful on your own. So we do events for the Nashville's unhoused, helping them find jobs, housing, and feeding them. Um, we do this with support from a very large health insurance company called WellPoint, who back all of these events, which is really great.
Yeah.
We also help with the do something called Self Care Saturday, which is working with disenfranchised people groups, bringing them health and fitness at their level as well, along with other resources. Um, so we're building. What we're doing is we're going to introduce a donor. What is it? Donor advised fund where people can donate into that philanthropy side. So then you have a very holistic model of what it looks like to have, a Nashville Fit media company in your
Hmm.
neck of the woods, like we do in
Yeah.
chat. We have Chattanooga Fit. So it's community driven. We're working with the disenfranchised, the underserved,
Hmm.
and we're also spotlighting these luxury services, but we're also giving away a ton of free content to help you on
Right.
your health journey.
Yep.
We're making fitness accessible with the app that's $6 a month. And then we're promoting and building big old events to inspire the community to come in and see that the industry is not as terrifying as you think.
Yeah. Terry, thank you so much for everything that you've been able to provide us today. The whole goal of Let's Get Tactical is to go as deep as possible. And I feel like you gave us some insight today that you didn't have to. And I really, really appreciate you
Yeah,
doing
man.
that. You're an entrepreneur and a co-founder and an executive that I've always admired and looked up to. And your approach in tackling business is a breath of fresh air in most
I
situations. So
appreciate that. Thank you.
where can people find you, Terry? How do we stay up to date with everything that's going on with you and your companies?
Awesome. I appreciate that. It's an honor to be here, by the way. And doing this with you is, you and I get to
Yeah, it's always
just
fun.
hang out. Hanging out's always fun.
It
Hanging out with
is.
Joe.
There
So,
would have been no different if we'd have been in a garage right now. That I would have probably asked the same questions and,
I
and
know
did the
it'd be
same
the same.
chat.
It'd be the same conversation if we were sipping bourbon, uh, but we'd be talking about distilleries. No,
Exactly.
you can find me on Instagram at K_Terry B. I'm also, you got also check us out. Nashville Fit is the Instagram handle, as well as Music City Fit Expo is that Instagram handle. That will lead you to the things like the podcast, the website, the app, so on and so forth. So that's our top of funnel. So find us there.
Thank you again, Terry. That was episode 1 of Let's Get Tactical with me, Joe, the COO. See you on the next one.